Welcome back, everybody. This is the Predictive Playbook powered by Wager Talk and Sportsmemo.com. I have a NHL expert in the house today and a PGA expert, and he's really good at just about everything he touches with professional sports bettor Don Buster. And you never call him Don, just like you would never call me Johnny. You call him Buster, and that's a cool name because of, look at him. He's Buster, man. He's cool guy. So, Buster, welcome to the show, and I can't get into the NHL just yet. I've called 6 therapists this morning. They won't take me. And my connection with Tony Finn is really hurting me. Even Tony Finn's therapist said, "No, I'm filled." But that game last night with the Sixers, I actually was spared the fourth quarter because I dozed off.
Really?
Yeah, I did. But I dig around with the database a little bit.
I guess.
What's that?
I said, lucky for you being a Philadelphia fan. Lucky for you.
Oh man, you didn't want to listen to this. It's the third largest come from behind victory in NBA playoff history, and with 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the third quarter, the Sixers were up 25. Mm-hmm. In the Super Bowl with New England and Atlanta was up 25 with 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the third quarter. Now, what is that? Is that just coincidence, or is like the universe trying to tell us something?
Well, we could have a whole conversation about what you believe in or not, and if there's a simulation running this whole thing or whatever you want. That's a whole different thing you don't really want to get into here. We want to talk about sports, but when you see stuff like that, it kind of makes you think a little bit. So. I could even tell you, this has nothing to do with sports. I can tell you a quick story. My wife's mother-in-law passed away 2 weeks ago, and
sorry to hear that.
And it's I'm not saying that because of that. But as far as coincidences, or you wonder sometimes. And she was big with hummingbirds. Well, we're here in Mexico. We hadn't seen any hummingbirds this year, right? My wife now, like, she goes to Zumba or whatever a couple times a week, and she was walking back on the beach yesterday, saw a hummingbird. We watch this news thing all the time from Canada because we're Canadian, because we're trying to get back and we want to make sure to see what's going to happen with the quarantine and all that stuff. And on last night, at the end of the news, they had a beautiful picture of a hummingbird flying into there. My wife just looks at me, and I always joke with her saying, "Wow, hey, you know what? Don't get all caught up in life. Enjoy this life. We have a life. Enjoy it. Don't get all down. I always say, and I've said it here, even with winners and losers, don't take the wins so great and don't take the losses so bad, because that's part of gambling, and just like in life, right? So, I always joke with her, hey, we're just in a simulation anyways, baby. So don't worry about it. And when she saw this hummingbird stuff, which we haven't seen down here all year, she's like, you know what? Maybe you're right, because her mother was all into hummingbirds, eh? So kind of funny.
That's a beautiful story. It really is. That's a cool story.
But anyways, as far as that, when you bring up that Atlanta New England Super Bowl, I tell you, I had Atlanta and I had them large. And I know as professional gamblers, you're supposed to, we have very, very strong backs, like supposed to wipe everything right off and just move on to the next day. That beat took me 3 or 4 days. I tell you, I couldn't get over that. That was a tough.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Buster. I was on the other side of that Super Bowl. I'm actually 18-5 in Super Bowls. I just have a magic wand. Really? And granted, there's been lucky wins. Twice there's been lucky wins involving the Patriots. We had that win, the interception in the end zone against Seattle. And even being down 28-3, I must have said 5 or 6 times, well, it's just not our year during the game. And then when you could see the comeback coming.
You could feel it.
But then when Julio Jones caught that ball on the sideline, I then again said, well, the game's over. And then inexplicably, Quinn runs those plays. You have the best field goal kicker in the world And this again, it was like something. Did I just see that? I mean, did this really happen, or am I like just imagining it? And
I'm
I kind of had
shocked.
to.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I had the same feeling, today. Now, like, did 25-point lead, and then the coincidence that the lead was the same in the exact same time of the third quarter in a football game and a basketball game playoff situation, and Atlanta's in both of them. That's the other thing that's so weird.
So is that the universe giving the city of Atlanta their due because of what happened all those years ago, and now that reverses around and Atlanta's on the right side of this thing?
Well, I guess it should have been the Celtics then, because New England, but
No,
maybe
well,
Philly's just destined
yeah, I
to
guess.
not have any happiness
that's
here
that's
for a
true, I
while.
guess. But I'm just saying it has to do with Atlanta, right? So Atlanta
Right.
got
Yep.
beat that time, and then now this way. Yeah, I guess obviously
Yep.
it's not the same thing. So I guess it would have made more sense with the Celtics, but Celtics didn't get there.
Yeah.
And for me though, John, I know everybody like you just hearing, and I've seen that meme what you talked about, showing that Atlanta and showing the Atlanta football, the game too, the Falcon game. But to me, you watch enough NBA, and you seem to see this a lot. Teams coming back from third 20 point. I know it probably hasn't been that much in the playoffs, but you tend to see it a lot more in the NBA. If you had to ask me what was more shocking of the two, no doubt in my mind, the Super Bowl game was way more shocking than this.
I agree. Yeah, because you don't have that many points scored.
No,
You don't have
the
100
opportunity.
points scored,
No.
right?
Yeah, and you have a team that can actually,
Yep.
which we're supposed to, run the ball. Very easy. Run the ball, run the clock out. Don't give Brady that many chances. But anyways, we're just opening up bad wounds here for me. So we can move on, John, anytime you feel.
Yeah, I just was saying how lucky I've been with that particular game.
Well, I'll definitely I'll be asking you for your Super Bowl pick really early, come like mid-January before the game in February. So I'll make sure I get on the right side of that.
Be happy to give it to you. And just keep my fingers crossed and hope it wins.
Yeah, exactly.
But the NHL playoffs are equally as exciting. Just maybe not quite as dramatic as what we saw last night, but we did have a big upset with the Montreal Canadiens beating the Las Vegas Golden Knights 3-2, and they were plus 200 underdogs and really came out of the gate fired up. It was 2-0 at the end of one, and then Vegas mounted a comeback, and then just wasn't enough time for them to be able to tie it up, so to speak. But that was a pretty exciting game, to say the least. And we have another one tonight. Both series are tied 1-1. And the Lightning here are on the road at the Islanders at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York, which we all know, and you specifically know, that place is going to be rocking tonight for sure. So I can't imagine being, even a professional athlete on that Lightning team and having to face that crowd. But they're going to do it, and maybe somehow it motivates them. But right now, Tampa Bay is a minus 140 favorite on the road despite all that, and the total is 5. So how do you see this game unfolding, and who's going to take control of the series, Buster?
Well, John, I'm first going to speak about my Montreal Canadiens. I'm actually donning the shirt from the last time they won the Stanley Cup. 1993, and this year for Montreal has a very similar feeling to it. So I'm very happy the way they played. They have to play that way to beat Vegas. That's the only way. They have to keep out of the penalty box. Carey Price has to be even better than he was and has been. He has to be better, and Montreal can win this series. And I'm like me and the rest of the Montreal Canadiens fans, we were kind of sick of hearing sweep, sweep, sweep. We've heard it all. Toronto to win in 5, no problem. Montreal stinks. Oh, yeah, they lose. Oh, Winnipeg's going to a friend of mine joked about one of the Wager Talk boys was joking that Winnipeg would even win in 3 games. They wouldn't even play the 4th, so it's just all joking. But Montreal wins in 4 straight, and they're here to stay. They may lose. There's still a big underdog, but they're going to this is going to be a series. It's not going to be Vegas in 5. It's going to be a series. So anyways, John, I had to get that in there.
It's fine.
With a big win last night, but
it's all good.
So now let's talk about the Islanders and Tampa Bay. Another team really that didn't got much respect at all to start the series. They were getting plus 220 for the series, the Islanders were, and anybody that knows hockey and has watched these last 2 games knows that, this is going to be a series. Tampa Bay is the former Stanley Cup champions, and they are very, very good. Their power play is unbelievable, and it's going to be very important for the Islanders to just stay out of the penalty box. If they can do that, they've been playing with them 5-on-5. So, but that power play is deadly. Right now, they're 2-7. They've had 2 goals out of 7 attempts in the first 2 games. But in tonight's game, I actually gave out to my clients the Islanders plus that 220 for the series. I thought there'd be – I actually really like the Islanders here. I love Barry Trotz. These 2 teams – for people that don't know that are not NHL fans, they played in last year's semifinal, and Tampa Bay won 4-2. But they were all close games, and actually 2 of the games went to overtime. The teams split them. 1 game went to double overtime. The other game went to overtime. So this was never going to be an easy series for Tampa Bay. Does Tampa Bay have the better talent? Of course they do. They have 2 or 3 guys that are fantastic, but just like Montreal, this is when you get into playoff hockey, it's a team game, and it's goaltending. And the Islanders have, and they have who I think is probably the best coach in the NHL, which is Barry Trotz. He took Washington to a Stanley Cup, and I think he's going to be the difference here. This series will probably, I said right from the get-go, when I did my write-up telling, and I'm sure a bunch of my clients, Buster, what do you mean the Islanders, or you're taking the Islanders? And I gave him a nice write-up telling them why. And so far it's turning out how I thought. I gave out Tampa Bay in game 2. I firmly believe the Islanders will win one of these 2 games, and it would not shock me if they won both. But I really believe they're going to win one of these 2 games. So you're getting plus 120 with the Islanders here tonight. You're going to get Islanders again in game 4 plus money. I'm taking them both games. I've already gave out the Islanders plus 120 in this game. And a couple things, John, you mentioned it. Nassau Coliseum, 14,500 capacity. I've been there back in a long time ago. And actually, Wayne Gretzky was playing for the LA Kings. That's when I was in Nassau Coliseum watching the Kings play the Islanders. And that place will be crazy tonight. I actually even read something somewhere where it's just season ticket holders that got those tickets, and there was once like their sites crashed and everything. So there's not going to be. It's not like other places where you're going to see the visiting team's fans there. It's going to be very minimal of the visiting teams of Tampa Bay's fans there. And a couple other points here. For the Islanders to win. I already mentioned it. Do not take penalties. B, what they have done in Tampa, they've been winning the face-off battle in Tampa. Now they get to go back home where they get the last change. In game 1, they won the face-off battle 60%. That's huge. Last game, I think it was 53, 54%. As far as hitting, the hitting has been similar. They both have been, I think they tied in hits given the one game, and maybe Tampa was up by 1 or 2. That's key. There's a lot of these keys that favor the Islanders, and they're an underdog at home and the energy from there. And 2 teams have already felt that. Boston was a big favorite, and they played them. So me being a longtime hockey fan, when I saw 220, the value is just, to me, I know it's Tampa Bay Stanley Cup champions. They can't lose, just like Vegas can't lose. But I've been doing this a long time, John. These are two good. These are two good series. I told my clients from the bat. I told everybody on Puck Time from off the bat that they're going to be good series. Will it be Tampa Bay and Vegas at the end? Very well could be. But it wouldn't shock this guy if one of those other two teams were in the finals.
Yeah, it wouldn't me either. I did a little study on the goaltending, and obviously the Lightning have an incredible goaltender, but the Islanders is a veteran. They're both Russians, by the way. That's an interesting matchup right there. But the Islanders goaltender is coming off career best in goals against average, save percentage, and shutouts this season, and he is a veteran. So do you see, I think that's an advantage, but you would know better than me. So is that an advantage for him being a veteran and being in that rock and roll stadium tonight and pitching a shutout?
Yeah. Well, for me, it'll be very tough for him to pitch a shutout. Vasilevsky's very, very good as well. They're both good goaltenders. To me, truthfully, if somebody said to me, okay, Buster, you got one game, you need to pick one of these guys, I'm taking Vasilevsky. Not saying that Varlamov isn't. He's he's been playing fantastic as well. So to me, the goaltending is a wash. To me, this game is, like I say, Islanders stay out of the penalty box. I think the Islanders will just come out flying. If they can get it up, just like Montreal. These teams like the Islanders and Montreal, they play great with a lead. Not so much when they fall behind. And you saw that in game 2 as Tampa Bay jumped on them. And, but being at home, they could get behind and still come back. But when you're on the road, it's very tough for a team like the Islanders who play that defensive checking style. But the difference this year, they lost in 6 last year, John, to Tampa Bay. The difference this year is they seem to have a little bit more a team. Trotz has had one more year with this team, so their special teams are a little bit better as well. So all that little extra time in another year, to me, gives the Islanders that much of a better chance to win this year instead of losing in 6.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. And unlike the NBA, which has all these injuries occurring now, it looks like both these teams are pretty, full strength.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to really worry about there come game time. I'm seeing really nothing of the kind as compared to the NBA, which is more like reading a MASH unit report days.
Yeah,
but this is going to be an exciting game, no doubt. And for anybody who's watching the game, it'll be televised on USA Network, and you'll hear and feel that fan enthusiasm that fan base has for their Islanders, and it's I don't know if it's matched anywhere else, Buster.
Yeah, well, Vegas, you get right. I'll tell you right now, Vegas is a place that matches it for sure. It's Vegas is crazy. I think I talked about this on a show earlier about how the Vegas fans. But yeah, when you have again, it's Nassau Coliseum. It seems like the fans are on top of you. It seems like they're a lot closer, and they very well. I don't know. I'm not an architect or anything, but it just seems like, just from being in both buildings, it seems like it's a lot closer on top of the ice, right? So, anyways, it's going to be great. The NHL again, and I said this on this show. Maybe I've been on a bunch of times, and I'm a big hockey fan, as you know, and I'm thrilled the way hockey has really hit the United States now. They did so much to try to get the people in the U.S. to enjoy hockey, to grab onto it, and from, like we talked, from glowing pucks, because people would say, it's too hard to follow the puck and stuff like that. And but what did it? Gambling in every state. So there's all these guys that were really, they don't hit the Nielsen ratings, but there's a ton of NHL fans in the U.S. And now they're strongly coming out because of the gambling with, AC, like New Jersey opened up, New York State, all the states legalizing gambling. And plus, like I say, there's a lot of fans, and I don't think hockey got the got their just. They were always, number 4. They'd be joking that it's even the 5th sport. Well, it's getting more and more popular, and the more and more people go to a live hockey game, they'll fall in love. It's a great sport, and I'm a little prejudiced being Canadian, but
It's probably okay. I mean, it's a tremendous statement you just made, and so very true. But before I forget, and I can't even believe I would forget this, I know I love it when you put out those 5% plays because they have done extraordinarily well. And I hear a rumor you might have one tonight. You want to tell us what you have and how people can get it?
Yeah, John, I have 5% in the NBA game tonight. It's on the total, and either first half or full game. Just throw that out there, so you have options. I'm hitting 92% in my last 12 NBA total releases. So I really like this one. I have a good analysis in there, and hopefully it will go our way. Again, anytime you're putting these plays out like this, that it's just like a lot of the other plays. I have been very successful. I have a format where and I don't put out a ton of these 5% plays. So I have a format. I think over the last 3 years, I know over the last 3 years since about August 2018, even my time back on Wager Talk, I'm hitting 58% with my 5% releases. So it's not when we unload on one of these things, we're pretty confident. But as you know, in this game, being confident is about 55% of the time. So it's I'm looking forward to tonight's game. I'm looking forward to the hockey, so it should be good. And you can go over to Sportsmemo. I've actually got it on sale. You can get it for only $19.
That's awesome, and that's a great deal, folks. I mean, $19 for the normal price is $39, so that's a great deal, and it gives you a real good look at how good this guy really is. And like he's saying, if this play loses tonight, don't judge his experience and his expertise on just one play, because that's kind of it's definitely missing the point. The best thing to do is get the longer term subscriptions, make that your test drive, and anybody at sportsmemo.com, when you do that, you'll be a satisfied customer. We can't promise you're going to make a lot of money. We can't promise that you're going to lose a lot of money. But we can promise you're going to have a good experience, and you're going to learn just an absolute mountain of information and wisdom about professional sports betting, and that can help you immensely.
Yeah.
So, sure. Any last thoughts before I let you go, Buster?
Just looking forward to the U.S. Open. I see it was suspended early, so looking forward to that. I like when it's out on the West Coast, because then you kind of get to watch all day. Mrs. Buster, she not so much like it when it's on the West Coast like that, but then again, she's used to be watching sports for about 12 hours a day, so it's no big deal. It's just a different sport. She loves hockey, so we always watch especially come playoff time. So we always watch the hockey, but it's always, and that's important too. And for guys, maybe I'll just throw this out as my last little thing. For guys just starting out, there's a lot of young guys, a lot of the middle of the road that are doing this. And now that I said, because of the states opening up the betting where you just don't have to go to Nevada, you can go anywhere to bet a single game sporting event. Very important, if you're going to be doing this long term, like guys like me and John have, very important to keep that private life going well. You have to be able to balance both, because it's a mental game. So if you don't have a perfect private life, it's reflected in what you're betting, because your head's not into it. If you're worried about what your wife or girlfriend or something, or boyfriend or other partner or whatever you have, if you're worried about that kind of stuff, of the outside things that are going on, this is a tough enough grind as it is, and you have to have your head with you. So make sure that would be my number one thing I would tell people. Never mind all this bankroll and stuff. You have to make sure you have proper bankroll management, all that. You better have your private life, your life outside of gambling, in order, and it'll make you a way, way better gambler, guaranteed.
That's well said, and I can speak to the truth of it. Now that we're allowed to walk around the malls, I always remember like on a Saturday or Sunday, and we're big football bettors, right?
Yes.
But if it's during the day, how many times have you seen a guy walking with his girlfriend or his wife, and he's like this, and you know exactly what he's checking. I mean, he's not looking at Instagram. And I think that's a warning sign, Buster. I think it really is. Like if you have to check the score and be like glued to the TV and nothing else matters, then in my humble opinion, that's a warning sign. I like nothing more than when I'm done Saturday morning and I have Saturday afternoon to do whatever, And of course, sometimes we watch games, but usually the SEC games occur at night.
Right.
Penn State games are at night. So I mean the balance is the key. You got to be balanced.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll tell you right now, John, I haven't seen them all on a Sunday in 40 years. So that's just me, right? You know what I mean? So that I started at a young age to my girlfriends or, I say, listen, Sunday, there's 17 Sundays that you will not see me unless you're a football fan. And then you'll be with me and my buddies watching football. So, you set out the ground rules right off the bat,
yep.
and it's way better that way. So there's no surprises, right?
Right, and
this is what we do.
Unnecessary stress, it's
exactly. Yeah, you just get rid of that right away, right? So
now I am looking down here. I just wanted to mention since we haven't started the tournament, here's one of my 7 DraftKings entries for the U.S. Open, and Buster knows personally how much this tournament and all the majors mean to me. I seem to do well with them, so I hope I'm not putting my whammy on myself. But my lineup is McIlroy, Simpson, Terrell Hatton, Paul Casey, Abraham Answer, Harris English.
Love Hatton, love Casey. Worry a bit about Simpson, even though he has won the U.S. Open in 2012, I believe.
Yep.
Of course, at 7,600, it's going to be long for him. McIlroy, you never know what you get. He can win this thing by 10 or not, or miss the cut. So, anyways, quick opinion on that for you, John.
He came up 7th best in my models. That doesn't mean like 7th best, like it.
No, I understand.
Like in the simulations, he wins the event 7th most times. Is kind of a way to look at it. And you know what? Nobody's been talking about him all week. So I do a lot of work with the sentiment, as you know. Using hashtags in Twitter or just doing a survey myself of multiple sites, and very few people are talking about him this week, and that usually attracts me to somebody. I definitely want to have DraftKings guys that are not necessarily flying under the radar, but the media is not hyping them and saying that there's certain contenders. Like I worry about John Rahm because he owns that golf course. I mean, he plays extraordinarily well. If all the majors were there, he'd already have the Grand Slam. Right. But because of all that attention, and it's not because I don't want him to do well. It's not because I'm not going to put him in my line because he's too expensive. It's just that these things get too extreme on the betting community side, and the odds get a little bit too expensive, and then sometimes these guys play below what their average play is, let alone play at the expectation that some of the public betting community has him at. The expectations for Rahm may be too high. Much like the Philly fans do with the Sixers and the Eagles, and it starts with the media. The media is the one that says that the Eagles are a football contender, and then the fans believe that the media is connected to the locker room and connected to the coach, and they're a certainty to go to the Super Bowl. And it happens everywhere. It happens in New York.
It happens in every city. That's right.
Yep. And in soccer, it happens everywhere.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But anyway, I'm glad you brought that up about the balance, because that is one thing for people that are just starting out. I mean, it's a rush. It is a rush to be betting and watching a game, but just keep an eye on those flags, which might be a sign that, hey, maybe I probably should spend some time with the girlfriend or the wife or whatever. That's so well said.
Because it's easy, because no one was around, John, and we talked about this before. There was no one, when I was 22 years old, I had said this before. I know, actually, I see we're running way out of time. So real quick,
No, we're okay.
There's a guy on our Sports Memo, a very respected gentleman, Mr. Mark Lawrence. When I first started, I would drive into the United States because we live near a border when I was younger, and I would pick up his playbook at 18 years old, 19 years old. That was what the only information I could get, right?
Yep.
You couldn't get lines or nothing like that. Now with Wager Talk and Sports Memo, there's video 101s on everything. There's so much information, so much help, stuff that you do every day, John, having all those guys on, Tony, the two Tonys and Rob Vino, all that stuff. It's excellent. It's excellent information, and it's all free. Nothing, so
yeah, that's true.
Learn take a pick from everybody, take a little bit from everybody, and be your own guy. But all I'm saying is that first things first, you have to have your outside doing well, because you'll crash and burn in this game if mentally you're not there everywhere else.
Yeah, that brings back good memories. I used to get the gold sheet, which is on wagertalk.com. Yeah, get the gold sheet and play. What was his newsletter? The playbook, I guess. Right? Yeah.
Mark, I think he still puts it out.
Yep, he sure does.
I know he puts out the book because I buy it every year. So
yep. And that book's in Barnes and Noble, so a little.
That's right. Yeah.
Little plug for his sales.
There you go.
Well, Buster, thanks for being on the show. And Buster does make appearances at Manny's Irish Pub, which is our 4:00 Eastern Standard Time. Summary show, I guess I would call it. Everybody comes on the show. They spent the whole day researching games, talking to beat writers, getting as much information as possible, and then they're willing to share it. And I'm the host, and I always come out of there a smarter betting man because of it, and I can't recommend it enough. Not because I host it, it's just because of the type and quality of the people that come on. I mean, legitimately, not bragging too much. Some of them are legends, and I've counted up a couple of times the years of experience that are in the room at the same time. And at one point yesterday, we were approaching 150, and that was probably being conservative. But I mean, take advantage of it. That's what it's there for. We're all there to learn from each other, and we also have a pretty good time, don't we, Buster?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. For sure. And there's free plays, right? Your people scour the internet for free plays. Come in there and watch that for 10, 15 minutes, and you'll see a whole bunch of free plays, and you might stay a little longer, because I find myself, I go on, I tell John, you know what, John, I've got about a half hour. Next thing you know, an hour goes by, and I'm still there. So
it flies by. We were 2 hours and 20 minutes yesterday.
That seems a little. Yesterday, really. Woof. I know we were long on Tuesday too. So
back-to-back days. I mean, it just
and I see we're a
flies.
little long here too, John. So
it's good. I mean.
But we'll have to probably start shortening these things up so people's attention spans just get onto the points of the games and what we're doing, and But just again, we're just trying to help. So that's all we. That's all we want to do. So
hey, if it's interesting, they'll watch for 30 minutes, and that's what we're at right now, which is fine. It's been a great 30 minutes spent.
Well, thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And on behalf of Don, myself, and being powered by Sportsmemo.com and WagerTalk.com.